Good morning, I'm Sam Sheehan at Stitch and Steel Homestead, and today we're going to talk a little bit about homestead preparedness. There's a lot of different ways we need to be prepared on our homestead for a lot of eventualities, but one that too many people forget about is what happens to your homestead if something happens to you. COVID has kind of put this into sharp relief for me. I mean, the idea of what would happen if one of us were sick and incapacitated for a long time and unable to get out to the farm at all. But it doesn't have to be this disease. It can be anything. You could get hit by a bus. You could be traveling somewhere or even go to pick up hay and get trapped in a storm and unable to get back to your homestead. You could need to leave in an emergency to visit a sick relative. There's a million eventualities that could happen on a homestead to prevent you from being able to get out and do your chores with your animals. And, there's also less dire things like just wanting a break or a vacation and having a plan in place that makes it easy for somebody else to step in and take care of your homestead for you while you're away. So, today I'm going to show you a little bit about what we do to make that easier should we ever need to have someone else look after our homestead for us. So even when it's just a matter of having my husband come out and do the chores instead of me, one thing that we found is really important is having a set of instructions that are accessible and easy to read that lets everybody know who's where, what condition they're in, and what their daily needs are, so that we are all on the same page about taking care of them appropriately. And one of the ways we do this is with our big whiteboard. So this whiteboard in our barn is a really important tool for us, and it's got a breakdown of the different stalls in our barn and who's in them. So for example, stall 1 has got rabbits in it. It's got Elmo, Spice, and Nebula, and they're breeding actively. So that means people could expect to see new kits pop up in there. It's not just adults. These are their needs. So they need their water checked twice a day. They need free choice pellets and their hay bunker kept full. These are the additional animals that are in that stall right now, all their offspring. So we keep that updated as much as we can with their needs and who's currently in there. Same thing for the second stall. That's where our goats live in the wintertime. We've got Sandy and Mika in there. They're dry and open. So that lets people know they don't have to do any milking chores and they're not expecting baby goats. Same thing, what are their needs? Keep their hay full and their water open. They only get half a scoop of pellets in the morning and half a scoop in the evening, and check their mineral tray. And so on. For the chickens, we have another stall with a rabbit in it. And then for the horses and the cats who are not in stalls. On this side of the board, we have things that need to be done a little bit less frequently, like checking the stalls and adding additional bedding, sweeping and tidying the aisles, exercising Emmy, giving them tree hay, checking the cat litter, and changing the pan out. It's also a reminder to let people know that the store is closed on Sundays, so we need to check feed levels Saturday morning because they won't be able to get feed tomorrow. And then this right here lets them know what type of food is purchased for each type of animals. Hay is delivered as we need it, roughly every 2 weeks. We've got the last delivery date noted here, as well as how much I owe him. And the same with the farrier. It's expected every 6 to 8 weeks, and the last appointment was. So that information is there and readily accessible. The last section on our whiteboard is important numbers. So the farrier, the vet for the horses and goats, the guy who brings our hay, the processor for the rabbits, as well as myself and my husband. Obviously, we would try, if we're intentionally going away, to time it when none of those big things need taken care of, like the farrier visit. We don't need to order hay, we don't need to send rabbits to the processor or anything like that. But sometimes you're not in control of those things, and sometimes, if I got hit by a bus yesterday, for example, and someone came and looked out here and saw that the horses had no hay, they need to know how to get more, because we don't store it on our property. We have a fellow who brings it to us. So that's all important information that someone would need to know to look after our animals effectively. And so we put it on the board. And the same thing, if we had an existing date booked with our processor for the rabbits or the meat chickens, that information would be written on the board as well. So at a glance, everybody can tell everything they need to know to take care of our animals short term. The other thing I'm working on is a document that's being called the Care and Keeping of Stitch and Steel Homestead, and it's more of a long form document. So it's got things like the horse's medical health histories and birth dates and registration numbers, and it's got, you know, notes about the goat's personality, you know, who's more likely to follow you like a puppy dog and who might just go larking off on her own and be difficult to get back. You know, when is it okay to let the chickens free range and when is it not? How to get the cats back in the barn if they're resistant to coming in at night. All those kind of extra things that might not crop up on a daily basis, but they might be more important to someone who's looking after the farm more long term. So that document is going to be printed and updated as it can be, updated regularly and kept in the barn in a binder, as well as on our computer in a Word document type file that we could send to somebody if we needed to. So it's just little extra layers of precaution that would keep things going smoothly and make sure that our animals are still getting the best kind of care that they can and that they deserve if something ever happened to us. The other thing that's important to note is we can't always tell who is going to be coming and seeing our whiteboard and taking care of our animals and what kind of experience they have, either with a particular species or with animals in general. So I always try to remember when I'm leaving notes that someone else could use to look after my animals to treat them as if they are a blonde 20-year-old from the city who has never laid eyes on a farm before. Just make it as foolproof as you possibly can, add as much detail as you can, make everything really clear so that people can't make mistakes. Some small mistakes in the short term, okay, whatever, as long as everyone got some food, they'll probably be all right. But other things can be dangerous, like giving the rabbits chicken food would likely kill them. So we try to be really, really clear about as many things as we can to avoid confusion. So as you can see, I've identified it here by stall number 1, stall number 2, stall number 3, and stall number 4. So we've got to be clear and consistent with that in identifying them as stall number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4, just so that there's no confusion. It's all well and good to say give 2 scoops of feed to the animals in stall number 1, but if your person looking after your farm doesn't know which one is stall number 1, they can still make big mistakes. Working on this video has made me realize that I needed to add something that was missing to my board, and that's this little section right down here. Because I talk about giving animals scoops, you know, you can see it right here in stall number 2 for the goats. Half a scoop of alfalfa pellets in the morning and half a scoop in the evening. Well, what's a scoop? So now I've written that on here right here. Scoops are the teal feed scoops located on hooks right here, and the red scoop is 1 cup. So here we go, we've got the teal feed scoops, and we've got the red 1 cup scoop, because that's another measurement we use on the board. 1 cup for the cats and 1 cup for Rocco there, who's on a maintenance diet. And then the feed is all located right below the board. We've got the salt and mineral we use for the horses and the goats. We've got the layer chicken feed, the rabbit feed. This one's black on black, you probably can't read it, but it says alfalfa. And this one over here says cat. Just so that it's super clear and nobody makes any mistakes. So thanks for watching. It's something important to be thinking about. Not always an easy topic to think about, but it's really important to make sure that your animals are still getting the level of care that they deserve and are accustomed to, even if you're not available to give it to them. Drop us a comment down below. Let us know what you do for preparedness and how you make sure that your homestead will keep ticking along even if you aren't. I'd like to see if anybody's doing something differently, maybe have some ideas we can implement here, or I can discuss in another video. Thanks so much. Have a great day.